his concert in Montreal was firebombed, and the police stood there. The Montreal police stood there and watched these perpetrators, these violent criminals, endanger not only Sean's life, the singer's life, but the young people that were in the concert. And I just do not understand how this country has gotten to this point. There is an obvious violation of our laws, where there's obvious violent crime, and then their main focus is trying to get this guy off stage. And this went back and forth for several hours before the concert, immediately within sort of the early part of the concert, and then the firebombing happened, and they were still debating on whether they could actually rip him off the stage. I don't know what country I'm sitting in anymore, because that to me is just stomach churning, to be honest. If I was a parent of somebody that was at that concert, I would be looking at civil litigation at this point.
So as I said, I hadn't heard of this guy. Christian rock, for the most part, doesn't float my boat. I don't think there's been a good Christian rock group since Creed. Yeah, you can make fun of me for liking Creed. Creed was a banger. It was good stuff. But like for the most part, it's a little too on the nose. It's not my thing. But it doesn't matter, right? So the excuses used, like they just denied them permits everywhere to begin with, because they were going to do just regular outdoor concerts, that kind of thing. It started with Parks Canada somewhere out east, coming from a CBC story. And the CBC story was playing into all the tropes. They're racist, they're MAGA, they're American, all these things. And so the federal government revoked it under the premise, and they were a little smarter than the city of Montreal. They went on the premise that, we can't guarantee safety, and well, you know what? It's your job to guarantee the safety of Canadians. And if, there's a music act, they're responsible for security within reasonable limits. But if it's not reasonable, you're facing potential political violence from Antifa or something. That's the job of government then to step in and provide additional security. You don't just cancel it. But we know that it wasn't actually a security issue. It was just an excuse for it. Most of the municipalities that denied permits, they did it under a similar guise. City of Montreal and Quebec City, they didn't even pretend. They just said, this is not compatible with Quebec values, and these are, right-wing Christian people. They shouldn't be allowed here. Then you had creepy Senator Chris Wells. As soon as I said creepy senator, you already knew who I was like. Oh yeah, you already know who I'm talking about. He was saying, hate group shouldn't be allowed in, from the guy who posted images about, Christians, or all Christians are Nazis, that kind of stuff, from this guy who's actually spread legitimate hate. The mask is off. Same with David Eby. They shouldn't be allowed here because we disagree with them. I disagree with their politics. I disagree with their message, their faith. They shouldn't be allowed here. The left has dropped even the pretense, Cory, that of the language, say, that Parks Canada was using. They're just saying, we disagree with them. They shouldn't be allowed here.
Yeah, and it's an indication of how ass backwards our country is. I mean, that should never even have come into question. If we, the charter keeps coming up lately, and it's deviated in its interpretation grossly away from what it was supposed to be, and being used now as a hammer to shut people down rather than to protect people's rights. The insecurity of the left, again, I used that term earlier, and it applies here. You're fearful of differing messages, not hate messages, differing messages. And rather than debate them, rather than apply discourse, or rather than just leave it the hell alone, they insist on trying to shut it down. And it's a sickness, and it's problematic, and people should be paying attention. You don't have to like this guy, but you better understand how significant this swarm of government officials and ground activists, everybody in between, trying to shut him down, how dangerous this is if we allow this to be unchecked like this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Cory. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of monkey see, monkey do going on here as well, because they do it in, can we be the next one to cancel this guy and get our headlines in?
Yeah.
I'm sure that happens. But, this business of values, you were saying that they were shut down initially in New Brunswick because of the security issue, and that's certainly true. But
it was an excuse.
But they also said that this performance should not take place on Parks Canada property because it was inconsistent with Parks Canada values. So back to the internet we go when we look to see what Parks Canada values are as they perceive them. and it's about creating safe places and fostering diversity. That is
Biodiversity, I could see, but the hell does a park have to do with?
diversity. Well, you've got to go onto the internet and see if you can make any sense of it, because it just sounded like the classic way this liberal government works is that it has a set of ideas about how people should act and think and do, and through various means of legislation, selective granting to agencies, they are trying to bring that about. And this fellow walked into it. It's done him nothing but good, by the way. I mean, his profile in the United States is suddenly elevated because, up there the heathen Canada.
Well, they martyred him.
Martyr, absolutely. And making money while you do it. It's as martyrdom goes. It's the kind you want. But it is, unfortunately, as Cory says, it sets a terrible picture of Canada.
Well,